Anyone has any questions? Dick, this is your first time in?
Yes, the first Zoom that I've been on with you, yes.
Yeah.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
How does the pole shift and the ascension fit together?
What a question.
Oh,
I can answer it. I can answer it because I wrote this, my newsletter is actually in my second, or let's see. Anyways, I wrote an extensive piece on that once. And well, okay. Obviously, this is just my opinion, and obviously, I've taken a lot of it from Zeta Talk, and I have a little bit of my own twist on it. The ascension we won't see, right? Because it's going to be. Let me see now. I had a dream. So where to start? Okay. In 1947, when they had the Roswell, Roswell, New Mexico, genuine UFO crash. After that event, Earth, inhabitants of Earth, and that means all the souls that are currently currently incarnated at the time had one vote, and they were now the vote was a bit more complex than that, but I'll explain that. So after the Roswell crash, there was a vote that the spiritual hierarchy put to all the current incarnated souls on Earth. Everyone had one vote, and they were voting on whether or not Earth would move forward into a higher dimension and become a planet only for the light-oriented, or the you can put it different ways, but basically they were only for the Zeta Talk. With the Zeta Talk use the STO, the service to others. So Earth was voted on becoming a whether or not to become a STO, service to oriented planet only. And now the vote was split, was included. For example, if a soul was STO, service to other, their vote counted more than a vote for a young soul who was incarnated on Earth at the time, therefore had one vote. But if they were too young of a soul, then their vote didn't have as much weight as an STO vote. Okay, so are we clear so far on that? Right. Okay, so and now also at the time, now I can't remember if for lack of a better term, star seeds, or those souls who are incarnated in a human body on Earth at that time, here to help I'm not certain. No, they had a vote. They had a vote. So I'm talking about the super STOs that came from a star system and have migrated to Earth and take, born into Earth, into a human body, and therefore had feet on the ground. And so they had a obviously a vote as well. I don't remember how it was weighted, but I do remember that the strongest single vote would be from one soul who is either leaning STO or STO and incarnated. Okay, so we got that's the basic. So I'm going to assume that everyone here is listening, and so we're talking about how the pole shift. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dick. Is related to Earth's ascension. Did I say that right?
You're correct, yes.
Okay, I may repeat that again as more people come in. Okay, so we had the vote. They had the vote, and the vote was yes to go ahead with the Earth what would be the word, translating, transitioning, transmigrating. I can't think of the exact right word, but moving from the third dimension to now. Here's where it gets a bit confusing because there are different dimensions, and depending on how people count and their education and their opinion and their viewpoints, some people say it's the fifth dimension, and some people say I say it's the fourth dimension. But if it's the fourth dimension, it would be the upper fourth, not the lower, because the lower fourth is full of all kinds of awful stuff. So in that case, it's possible that it is the fifth dimension or some dimension because I'm sorry, I don't want to complicate this too much, but the fact is there are hundreds of levels of dimensions above the fifth, above the third where we're at. And they're scattered all throughout, right up to what's known as the first grand division, which is everything below the first grand division is all to do with karma. Okay, and it's above that, it's karmaless and timeless. But I'm putting too fine of a point on it.
Wow.
So let's. Oh yeah, this is what I do. This is another thing that I do, right? So, okay. So we've got. I'm going to assume that it's very high. I'm just going to say around the mental plane or around the upper fourth, which is a very beautiful place. I've been there. So, okay, so they voted for Earth to transition at that time, 1947, after the Roswell. So we know it's going to happen. Now, a few years ago, I asked for a dream, or I had a dream. I can't remember if I was thinking about, whenever I think about something intensely, usually I get a dream about it. But anyways, I saw the, I think it was 23, no, it was 20, yeah, 2413 is think was I think I saw 2413. So at any rate, it is happening, and I'll explain how it relates a bit better in a second to the pole shift. As to when it can't happen before the pole shift, for this reason, the following reason, because since Earth is moving to a service to other only planet, that means that only those souls who are STO or STO leaning can reincarnate in a human body back on Earth after they die. Okay, So, so right away then, now we have to wait to the pole shift because Earth has many, and also very young souls. The thing about a young soul, now this is something that a lot of people often don't understand, that you got a human body, but that doesn't mean that you are a human, right? Because you have human born souls. Hi, iPhone, how you doing? We're just talking about how the pole shift relates to the Earth's ascension. So, okay, so just because a person has a human body doesn't mean they're human. I'm not a human soul, for example, right? So, and many people, aren't, right? So human souls look like human souls on the soul plane, from my experiences, human souls don't look like humans. I know it sounds funny. They are they look like they're humanoid looking, but they look have you ever seen those? A gnome. You've seen the for example, the I forget the name of the movies. It's about the ring, the golden ring. I can't think of the movie right now, but there is a whole series of movies on sort of like sub-Earth, right?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't think. It's like
I can't think of the name either.
yeah. So, but when you, for example, Harry Potter, okay. So when you go into Gringotts bank, you get all these fine dwarf people who are made up to look like these sinister looking short people. So if you've ever seen, yeah, so I'll just bring that up just for the fun of it. Green God's Bank, Harry Potter. Okay, images. Okay, I'll bring this guy up on the screen here. I'm going to share this screen. Here he is right there. Can you see that? This guy here.
Yep.
Okay. His features are quite pointed. So did I stop the share? Yeah. So they look a little bit like that, only a little more rounded features. Okay. So that's what actual human souls look like from my experience. Okay. So anyways, I'm kind of off. So if a soul is it's like if a soul is too young, it's like a very young soul. Let's say it's only had a few lifetimes. So that's like asking a baby, a child, a 1-year-old child, what would you like to be when you grow up? Right? Would you like to go to university? Would you like to be a plumber? Right? So it's that ridiculous. So that's why young souls were excluded. They either their vote was extremely light, or they were excluded. No, they were excluded from the vote. So if they were too young, they couldn't vote. So how can you ask a baby to vote in an election? a federal election, right, or a provincial or state. It's ridiculous, right? So that's kind of how the voting was divided. Okay, so what I saw, what I believe was a 24-13, and so I don't believe that anyone alive today will see that. We'll see the ascension. So because it's too far off, and time-wise, and also, of course, during the pole shift. Now, how it relates back to the pole shift is that, well, we know the pole shift is going to kill off, as Zeta Talk says, 90% of the population. So, and then 5% after that die because of injury or sickness or lack of food or water, right? So that leads, I think I calculated, I don't know, the 5% of 7 billion works out to, I don't know, something like 500 million people or something like that. Okay, so yeah, so then so that basically enables the spiritual hierarchy and all the people that are helping to ferry away all the for example, what I call the dark souls. We have a few of those, right? I think, what is it? I forget what the factor is, like 5% or something like that, are like not very nice souls, right? I personally know, I keep them at arm's length. There's a few like that myself, right? So, no, I do, yeah. So, that was only by association from my previous work. It's not a chosen thing. So then they get whisked away. The Zeta Talk says they go to called prison planets, where they have a lifetime as an octopus. Apparently, there are many planets that are all water planets, and that an octopus body is a very common body that's used for prison planets. So they get, so also, obviously, there are many good people that will die during the pole shift, that'll have the opportunity to come back and reincarnate.
So that's why we need to worry about the pole shift now and not worry about the ascension.
Absolutely. I mean, oh, that's right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah, there's a lot of what I call Pollyanna thinking, rose-colored glasses. People think that they're going to escape the pole shift by some wonderful transition, to like, it's just mind-boggling that people would believe that.
I think we've kind of covered it pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I didn't want to
No,
monopolize.
no, it's a terrific question. It's a terrific question. I wanted to finish up by saying, Earth becomes a STO, and they have at that time, yeah, okay, so the 100 years is, so whatever it is, it takes between the pole shift and the ascension, that is to normalize Earth, to get some kind of normalization. That's my opinion. No, that's strictly my opinion, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and then so it's definitely coming. Yeah. So, yeah. So if we have any more, so you got a few people. We got, yeah. So I got a few people here that have their mics off. I don't know, but if you any more questions, go ahead and ask. Yeah. Hi, Alicia. Yeah.
You talk about the pole shift and the ascension. Okay. I remember I watched a video, a woman, she can connect it to,
Yeah.
I think she was also connected to Archangel. I don't know, but some kind of water. She said that the of water told her to uplifting our frequency.
Yeah.
During the difficult time, during the COVID. Okay. And now we are learning the pole shift. And that bring us down.
Yeah.
So it look like it's going a different way. One side it tell us to keep our vibration high. Okay.
Yeah.
But then how can you keep your vibration high when you know the pole shift is coming?
Well, that's another fantastic question. I love it. Well, okay. So from what I understand, the veil between spiritual help, shall we say, or the spiritual dimensions and Earth is thinning, right? And will be thinner, which is to mean that there will be assistance for people, and actually the assistance is for people who are basically deserve it, right? So as far as I keep in mind that, and also the fact that if okay, so I would only assume that if we have the intention to keep our vibration high. For example, we could, if you set the intention, right, to keep your vibration up. Like for example, prior to doing this Zoom session, I give myself some Reiki treatment to raise my vibrations. So I believe what will happen is, now I didn't catch every word you said, even though I've got the CC on here, but you were saying that there will be help for, did you say there will be help? The person said that there will be help to raise vibrations? Okay, so I believe that there will be help myself, I do, but not for, everybody carte blanche, right? So it'll be for specific individuals, right? But so there are ways that we can keep our own vibration high. And this brings into the whole topic of timelines, which I was discussing the other night. And whereas, they talk about different timelines. No, I don't, but people do. They say, oh, well, I'm on a different timeline, right? And you may have heard me mention this the other day, right? And I'm like, no, you're not. You're using the same calendar and the clock as I am. You got your feet on the ground. We're all using the same time, right? So how are you on a different timeline, right? But a person can be not on a different timeline, but on a different vibratory rate, parallel to other vibratory rates that might be lower or higher. So, and then I'm just repeating this so it can be said, because I'm recording this. So if you have a higher vibration, that a higher than you normally have, let's say you have a high vibration, your set of experiences moving forward would be different than if you had your vibration lowered. Because the lower you go, the more you get into the emotional life, emotional body, and then the more karma you're going to experience, right? So if you're vibrating higher, then you're going to avoid all that, a lot of difficulties, or if difficulties are faces you'll get through them easier. So that's the big advantage of having raising your vibrations going forward through the pole shift. And so I say that people, and I'm glad you asked this, Alicia. You asked us great questions. So this would be an excellent point to set your intentions on. That you want, and you need to do this daily, right? To set your intentions that you want to have your vibrations kept on a higher level. And so play with that and see how your day goes. So you might want to start, say tomorrow, say, okay, I want my vibrations on a very high scale, as much as I can handle, right? And for tomorrow. And then just let it go and see how your day goes. And I believe it'll go nice and smooth, nice and easy. That's what I believe. So yeah, so raising your vibrations, either by your own setting your intentions, or just by doing your own stuff, right, to raise your vibrations. And so I'm assuming there'll be many ways of raising your vibration. I mean, you could meditate with your hands over your heart, right? So that would raise your vibration. So there's different methods, but that would be definitely the way to go. And I'm so glad you said that. I'm going to put that in my book, actually. So thank you, Alicia. So we got
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So we got okay. So we've got two different messages. One from Vas. Oh, he's at work. I see. That's what I see. Okay. So Vas is at work. That was before yours. Okay, Amy. He's in the break room. And didn't want to speak aloud. Did I understand you correctly? Did you say everyone will die during the pole shift? Let me clarify, their physical bodies will die, and the only people who will reincarnate will be STOs. Well, there's a bit of confusion there. What I said that 90% of people will die because most of the world, let's face it, lives right on the coast, right? And the coasts of the world will be assaulted by 500-foot, 600-foot waves. So there's no possible way you can have survive being on the coast, right? And many people, even if they know about the pole shift, can't move. They don't have the wherewithal, the resources to move, right? So, Zeta Talk says 90% will die during the pole shift, and another 5% will die after the pole shift because of illness, disease, or starvation. I mean, it's a tough subject, but it's the reality, right? So now their physical bodies will die, and okay. So after the pole shift, as far as I can tell, as far as I know, there'll probably be some break or some filters put in place. I don't know exactly what, but I'm getting a feeling that there will be. I'm getting a yes. There will be some filters in place preventing some people from some souls, depending on their background, from being reincarnated back on Earth. So, yeah. Exactly what, I don't know. I just know there will be some filters. And so that means that it's not necessarily just STOs that will be able to reincarnate in the years after the pole shift. It's just that we know that the Earth will be going to STO only, or leaning STO only, eventually. So within what, 150 years, whatever the difference between 2413 and 2023 is, whatever that number is, that's what I believe is when the ascension will take place. So moving on to Amy. I have a question to Chris. My confusion is that even living at high elevated area, there is no way to avoid water. Yes? To avoid, when you say avoid water, you talk about moving rogue water, dangerous water. If that's the case, no, there's ways to avoid it. Lots of ways to avoid rogue moving water. Because earthquakes and flood happening at the same time while pole shift, that means unless I am on the sky, there will be no way. No, that's not true. Amy, that's not true. How can I explain that? Okay, so here's an example where it's pretty much ideal. You know, it's pretty much ideal. You've got the high mountains at a distance from the homestead. It's at a distance there. Assuming that there isn't a mountain right near the homestead, but looking at this would be like, okay, these mountain slopes over here at the back of the picture will see mudslides, and perhaps even this treed one here would see some mudslides. But you see how you've got these lines here of tree lines, these various tree lines. That means you've got a gully between that tree line and that tree line, and another gully between this tree line and that tree line. So it's in these low gullies where you get the water, a rogue moving water flowing. But generally, looking at this picture, it is a great example of being on a flatter area, isolated from the steep mountain slopes. That's one example. Okay, so actually to a real place. And let's go to Idaho. This is Idaho. That's Washington. This is Idaho here. Okay, so we're all seeing this, I hope. So here, obviously, in these gullies here, these valley bottoms are this lake here will have trillions of gallons of rogue water coming down in a big wave. I can't hear you, Dick. In rogue water coming down from Canada. Okay, there's trillions and trillions of gallons of water from broken dams during the pole shift will be coming down into the States, and the states themselves have got, like, you know, probably 1 million dams and reservoirs are going to break, you know. But speaking of this area right here, so obviously you don't want to be here. That's what so that elevation there. There's the elevation map. So that's at 3,400 feet, that valley bottom. So you can see it's got nothing to do with how high you are. It's where you are positioned on the landscape. That's where the safety is. So, but this is a little bit off topic, but basically these areas where you've got valleys, the the water will be at the bottom of the valley bottoms, traveling, swishing all the way through these valley bottoms, all near this lake. Now this is probably a dam, and that will drain. But before it drains, as I said, tons of water will be coming down from Canada, all down these river valleys. Okay, so, but that's not answering Amy's question directly. So if you are, let's see if I can get to satellite and 3D. So this is next to that same lake. These areas, if you get property in areas like this, it's flat, it's up high from the lake or from a valley bottom. There's millions and millions of safe location acres all through here. You just don't want to be on a valley bottom. But up on these ridges, up on these how would you call that, a mountaintop, a flat mountaintop, terrific locations. So now I'm going to pop back to Amy. So did I answer your questions? You want to let me know if I answered your question? Okay, and we'll get back to it if I haven't. Now, iPhone, is that you, Van Eric? You had a question?
Yeah, that's me. Yes.
Yeah. So for the Netherlands, how do I say your name? Is it Van Eric or is this your last name?
Eric Langeveld.
Oh, I just call you Eric then.
Yes.
Okay. For the Netherlands, you mentioned Eastern Belgium, yeah, as a safe location, for example. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, that's a good question about, okay, what we're talking about here. We're going to pop over to, we're going to share the screen again. And we're going to go over to that area. Okay. Well, here's a good example, right? You can see the area. So what happens, so I'll just talk about it a bit. So what actually happens, of course, is within, 50 to 100 miles of the coast, most people will die because the water is just too high and it's coming in too fast. But when you get 150 miles, and I think this is about 200 miles, let's just take it from here to about here. This is where the land begins to rise. Yeah, it's 100 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So, but you only have to be at 100 miles. You only have to be at 200 feet elevation. So you're at 374 in Mons, right? So that means somewhere along this line or near Brussels or so, and that area. Now, am I okay? So this is okay. Well, okay. So that's Belgium. Okay. Yeah. So then, so anywhere between Brussels and I'm sorry, I can't pronounce Liège. I know that one, Liège.
Yeah.
So there'll be more survivors here in this zone here, and this zone here, there, then there will be none here, because their dead bodies will be deposited in Brussels, right? Because this is reality. But between Brussels and the higher land, there will be more survivors, and more survivors the closer you get to the higher land. Because by the time the water gets to Brussels, it'll the seawater, it'll slow down, maybe permeate some valleys valley bottoms, that kind of thing. But so anyway, so the point is that you're going to have survivors looking for highland in these areas here. They'll move towards the highlands in Belgium or Germany, right? Western Germany here. So that's the reality with Western Europe, is that there will be little land left. Now, Spain looks better. And I did a video on Spain, and I was amazed by what the Zeta Talk was saying about Spain being washed over, a peninsula being washed over, because you'll have water from the Mediterranean washing, sloshing as well from the Atlantic. Now, the thing about the Atlantic is that the Bay of Biscay, yeah. So the Pyrenees here, this bay is going to catch a lot of water flow coming south during the pole shift. And so there's going to be a lot of action, and it's going to push right through into the Mediterranean here. So it's likely to push through the Pyrenees and in the lower valleys, right, in the valleys. So you're going to have dangerous situation in the Pyrenees unless you're high enough, and then sloshing from the Mediterranean, on the east coast there, and then you've got the Atlantic itself pushing into the past Portugal and into Spain here. So I've suggested that I'm off topic, but I've suggested that these mountain ranges will work, and I'm getting a yes. But for the Pyrenees, you have to be pretty high. Okay, but I'm off topic. So yeah, so Western Europe has a problem, and that is that there will be a lot of people from Poland and Germany and these areas through here and through France that are going to want, and also from Italy as well, of course, they'll be moving up into these areas. So, and also obviously from Hungary, which this will be a slow event for Hungary, by the way, for these areas here, because they won't be affected directly by the pole shift waves. They'd be limited anyways, coming through here into the Mediterranean anyways. So it'd just be sloshing. But Hungary gets flooded via the Mediterranean in the aftertime, rising, and water flowing past Greece through the what do they call this area? Is a famous name to it, but anyways, through over Istanbul into the Black Sea and coming around and going along southern Romania and up is that the Danube, if I'm not mistaken? No, it's the oh my God, I can't pronounce that. But anyways, the water will slowly seep in and fill this whole area here, this low area. So these people will definitely be surviving more so than on the coast. So there's a lot of survivors in this area that will slowly start moving up into these mountains here. So there's a lot going on as far as migration is concerned. And so if a person is going to set up in, say, for example, Eastern France or Luxembourg or the province of Luxembourg in Belgium, if I don't pronounce it right, I'm sorry. The whole idea would be to be hidden as possible, and in a community. Of course, the community would be the way to go. Definitely the way to go. And what I'm pushing now is that people at this time who live in Western Europe should be setting their intentions to be in a safe community for the pole shift and for the after time, with water and good soil. Not, oh, I want a place in Luxembourg. I want to be in this place that's safe. It doesn't work that way. It's got to be a safe place with water, with people that with people of like mind and people that work together. Then the universe will move you around to make that happen. Does that make any sense, Eric?
Yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense. But the question I still have, you mentioned 200 feet to be safe in Belgium from the pole shift.
And 100 miles.
Yes, and 100 miles.
Yeah.
But in the after time, there will be flooding. And
that's true. Okay, absolutely great. I'm glad you said that. Yes, some people may or may not be able to move for the pole shift, right? So definitely, yeah. So that makes a very good point. That's why I always start my my videos and my safe location planning with the 675.
Yes.
Even though we know that the coast will be drawn down 50 feet, I believe it's 50 feet or so, up maybe up to 100, maybe as much as 100 feet. So you could, but that's only for the coastline. It'll sag, right? But it doesn't matter because you're going to be away from the coast, right? So yeah, so that's, yeah, so you're quite right. That's why I start with this, so that, you know, there's no sense in settling. You can survive the pole shift in Orleans or Orleans, I don't know how you pronounce that, here, but you're going to have to migrate after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so, well, Sweden. Well, of course, Sweden would be northern Sweden, if you can get there. But don't forget, it's going to be hot as hell. So, right, Sweden's going to be right near the equator.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So Sweden would definitely be a much better. I'm getting a yes, a much better option than trying to slug it out in eastern Belgium. Now, it would work if you set your intentions. Now, that is to say a person is living in the Netherlands and they want to move their kids and their family to a safe location, and they set their intentions. They want to be in a safe location with good fresh water and soil and in a community, say, okay? So by the way, you just set these intentions, you forget about them. You don't have to keep, you don't have to keep returning to it. You make sure you're clear about what you want, right? And then you let it go. I suggest that you, if you're not setting intentions now, right, daily or weekly, start now on small things and see how it works. It works. It works. It works. I can tell you exactly why, too. I can tell you exactly where, right down to the nerves. I learned that in a spiritual book. It works. The universe is just waiting for you to make up your mind. Once you make up your mind, it'll move. Thinking I've seen it shape my day. I've seen my day shape. The things I wouldn't normally do, I find myself gravitating to, right? So, yeah, so you said, I'm off topic. So, yeah, I know, but the setting intentions is so important, you know. Now we're back to, I'm sorry, Sweden, damn, intentions. Oh yeah, so you set your intentions, you're in Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and you want to move your family and to these basic things that you want for this pole shift, right? And it's not area specific. It's not your community is not people specific, right? You can't say, I want my brother to be there as part of the, that's my intention, my brother. No, your brother has a totally different soul timeline thing going on. It may not include you, right? For example, right? So you have those basic, set them. And then if you end up in St. Peter, if you end, sorry, I just went to school in Canada and I have a, yeah. So if you end up in St. Pete, then that's great, right? Because you set that intentions. So, okay, so Sweden, yeah. So if you look at Sweden, let's go, oh, I'll gotta share this back to the share. Okay. Southern Sweden will be certainly along through, you can all see this, right? Certainly through the coastal areas, even before the pole shift, because it will be hit by the European tsunami, right? So I believe Isaiah Talk says that the Denmark Peninsula will be washed right over by the tsunami. So you'd have to locate, make sure, let's say, for example, you are planning to, one common strategy that I suggest to people is that if you're moving to an area you don't know, because a lot of people I do consultations with, you know, they just want to travel. Just talking to a gal prior, an hour ago in California, and she just drives a gas tank out, right? And she tanks up where she's looking, and then she drives back home. So it's just a tank out. That's classic, because if people don't want to move, you know, to a whole other state, it's difficult for them, right? So I come up with a strategy for people. Okay, you know, you have to move. You're in Florida, or you're in Mississippi, right? Or you're in Netherlands. You know, you got to move. Okay, so depending on your resources, you could move to, for example, let's take the Netherlands. So you could move to, go back to the share. We were talking about, well, let's say it's Brussels in Belgium, because maybe you want to set something up with the country first, right, before you buy or something like that. So you move from Amsterdam to Brussels as a first step, and then once you're in Brussels, maybe you're working in Brussels, right? It just depends, right? So then you rent a place in Brussels while you're looking for a safe location in Bastogne. I think I got that right.
Yeah.
But that's in France, isn't it? No, that is Belgium. Yeah.
Bastogne is in Belgium, yeah.
Yeah. So there's different ways of doing that. Obviously, we're not running out of time, but we're getting a little on the short side of time to do. But that's one thing you could do. So Spark is, for speaking of Sweden. If you move to Sweden, maybe you've got family there, I don't know. But if you move to Sweden, you want to make sure that you are I wouldn't recommend this area here. but it's Sweden, right? So I have the concept that the Swedes are not as, I don't know, it's not as bad as it is in, say, I don't know, the United Kingdom and London, I don't know. But at any rate, I would move up into this area here. Get lots of choice up there, and you should put up with the winter there. And that's the only winter you'll put up with, is one coming up, right? So does that help, Eric? Did I answer your question?
No, it helps. You said earlier you got to set the intention. And what I'm feeling is that Sweden is a much more better place for me than Belgium. And I don't know why, but it's a deep feeling I got the last weeks. So I think for me and my family, it's the best place to go.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I often ask people in my consult. Like, I do professional consultation. This is free, but I do one-on-one. Or anyways, I did a group the other day, one in Africa and one in Australia, but it was generally it's one-on-one or a couple, right? And so the first thing I asked them, okay, so if you're thinking of an area, why? Is it a personal preference? Is it to do with family? Is it to do with a dream you had, a vision you had, or an intuitive feeling, right? So I've got to find out where they're coming from. Is it from the head, or coming from the heart, right? So usually if it's a deep feeling, like you're talking about, it's coming from the heart. It's coming from the soul.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a good sign, right? If you get that intuitive feeling. Yeah. So
Yes.
now you could ask for a waking dream. A waking dream. So do you know, when I say waking dream, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna run it by you anyways. Okay. So
Yeah.
so you waking dream is exactly the same as a sleep dream, only you're awake. So instead of you remembering your dream after the fact, or maybe having a lucid dream, right? They're generally clearer. Messages are usually clearer, right? But the waking dream is when now the message comes through events, sounds, voice, what people say, what you see, little vignettes during the day. You get little vignettes, like you're standing on a street corner and you're thinking about, oh, I don't know, maybe you're thinking about your brother or your sister, right? Something like that, how they're doing, right? And then up, you're standing on waiting for the light downtown, and up walks just this guy. It just reminds you of your brother, right? And he's talking to you, right? So that's like, okay, they wonder how he's doing, and the guy is like happy, and he's like feeling good, and he's having a nice conversation with him. So that would be a waking dream telling your brother is fine. Let's say your brother's living in Sweden and you don't know, and you can't reach him or something. So that is a way of now you could ask for that, because maybe you're just wondering. Maybe that's how I started off, of just wondering, holy God, what's that? And it's like, and I was learning about waking dreams back in '95. And then, so I started interpreting things that are coming at me. Right? And that would be an example, it just appears out of nowhere and happens, right? So, or you can request a waking dream, right? So then you're standing on the same street corner, and I think, I'd like a waking dream to know how my brother's doing in Sweden, right? And a truck comes to a stop at the light, and it's got a big picture of some smiling guy, right? saying, and it's got in the lettering, it's got just fine. It works like that. That's just an example. I've had all kinds of stuff like that happen, right? Or maybe it's the other way around. Call them. You'll see the words, or you'll hear somebody behind you. I'll give you an example. I had a girlfriend, a lovely gal, Beate, and she was German. And so she moved off to Germany to be with her mom in 2017. And but she was sitting here where I'm at one day, and she told me this story after the fact. And there's a bench you can sit on at the waterfront facing east. And she was facing east looking at Mount Baker. Now, Mount Baker is a volcano, a currently dominant volcano. Dormant, but it will go during the pole shift because it's too young, right? It's going to go, right? And so she was sitting on a bench enjoying the late evening, and she was looking at Mount Baker. And behind her, this wedding party arrived, and they were taking photographs. And then the subject of farting came up, and everyone was laughing. For some reason, they were talking about farting, right? And here she is out looking at a dormant, about to explode in a year and a half volcano, right? It's currently dormant. And the topic of farting came up behind. And I said, Beate, that's a waking dream. And she wouldn't buy it. She wouldn't buy it. But that was her waking dream, right? So so words, people say, can be, give you messages like that.
Yes. Mm.
So that's when you ask for awakening. So I forget why we talked about waking dreams. You set the waking dream as to something to do with you getting over to Sweden. And
Well, it's an intuitive feeling I got. I just recently heard about the comic pole shift, but I read a lot. The complete timeline I was going through, and Sweden popped up. And I know you mentioned Belgium, Eastern Belgium, to be a safe place for the Netherlands. But I've got a feeling I got to move to Sweden. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, because so now you can you get a strong feeling. Maybe you don't need a waking dream on that. Maybe you could ask for a waking dream on your next step.
Yeah.
And now with waking dreams, you can be a little more specific as opposed to setting your intentions. Because setting intentions will move mountains, as it were. It'll move you around the mountain, right? Right. But waking dreams is more information about your future oriented, right? So you can be more detailed on what you ask for a waking dream. You could say, when would be a good time? I want a waking dream and tell me a good time to start looking at property in right. And or will there be what would be a blockage? Would there be any blockages in the way? Right, another waking dream. Right? And if so, then what would be the best step to take now? Now that you know there'll be one little blockage or something, what would be the best step? So you have the dialogue with waking dreams.
Mm.
Right?
That's really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So it wouldn't be that crowded either. When you look at the landscape in Sweden, It's beautiful, right? Like yeah, it's lots of land there,
Yes.
the north there. Now, you asked me again, 1,000 feet in Sweden. If you, Eric,
Yes.
1,000 feet, you sent, is that you? No.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's me. But because you mentioned in the timeline earlier to a question of a lady, she was living in South Sweden. You mentioned swag and I think love charm to be good alternatives from higher places in Sweden. And swag is above 1,000 feet, so I think it's a safe location.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I remember talking to a couple that were, yeah, that's fine. That's fine, yeah. Yeah, that would work fine. Just don't be in a river valley, the whole thing, right? You've got to be up.
Yes, of course.
All right. All right. Amy says, I don't get it. Someone told me I need to be on the 19th floor high, but the water can destroy bottom of the building, corrupt everything. Yeah. You can't be in the building during the pole shift, Amy. And there's no possible way to survive a pole shift in a building. That is impossible. Okay, so I don't. That's you're getting bad information there. Okay, that's bad information. You have to be on the ground, underground, in a trench to survive the pole shift in a dry area. High. Generally, yeah. Vass is saying so ridges won't have mudslides. Well, it's more like you want to be. It's more like you want to be on the top of a. Okay, on the top. Not you don't want. You want to be in a. You want to be in an area that is protected, and is not going to be assaulted by water. And water is usually coming down a what they call a draw. And you don't want to be on top of a ridge because you have limited space to be. So not right on the crest of a ridge, and not in the valley, and not on the mountainside. You want to be on a flattish area in the mountains, essentially. Okay, so I think we got all those questions answered, I think. Yeah. Okay. See where we were over an hour and 20 minutes. Okay. So if there's any more questions, I think we can close it for tonight. If unless there's more. Dick, you got any more questions? Dick.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
What kind of winds?
Oh,
do you think, what kind of winds do you think we'll get?
okay. That is often a it's this not good information generally on the internet about the winds of the pole shift.
I heard 230 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, it is. But there's a lot of, I've heard as much as 5,000 miles an hour. And like, people take information. Well, it's a difficult subject, and it's like hard to find anybody who knows what the heck you're talking about, and then they get followers, and they're young and good looking, right? Not old like me, right? Young guys, really, less full of, vim and vigor, smoking the thing, and they're all hot guys, and they're talking about they don't know shit, right? So. No, it's the Zeta Talk talks about that the winds will be about pretty much like category 4 or 5. right? So even 6 starts to get up in the into the 200, right? So it's around that speed. So if you think about it, winds can only travel so fast on the surface of Earth that, right? You have wind, you have the resistance from the ground, right? You also have higher pressure too, right? I'm not a meteorologist, but Zeta Talk has said it's around category 3, 4, and 5, something like that. I can't recall exactly, but it's around 200 miles an hour, right? So I wrote a piece on this recently. I forget where I put it, but yeah, sustained speeds is one thing, gusts are another, right? So you can get a high-speed gust, but a sustained speed is actually quite a bit slower than you think. So I would say that the gusts would be more in the 200 range, and the sustained winds would be under 200. I'm getting a yes on that. So
That's plenty enough to tear a house down.
yeah, oh yeah, no, whatever is above ground is going to be destroyed.
Yep.
Unless it's built very specially to survive, right? To withstand the yeah. So
One more question. When is your book coming out?
oh God. I keep niggling away at it. It's it'll be out. I had a psychic friend in England, and she said it should be by November. And I said, okay, I'll work on that by November. So we'll see. The book covers so much ground, is that I mean, there's so many vectors involved in telling the pole shift story. It's just I've got a lot of it done, but I want to branch out into like I've been working on the bunker design, and I want to get into the 13 moon calendar, and I want to get into actual survival techniques for the pole shift. So I was hampered on my book because I had a computer crash, and thankfully I had the book uploaded to a site on the internet. So when I built a new computer and I went back to get the book, and all the formatting was removed. So now I'm going through the book line by line, putting in the commas and putting in the spaces and putting in the line endings and the I'm about halfway done, but it's good. I had to go through and do some correction anyway. So yeah, so it's in progress, probably by late this year or early next year, I think. It'll be by pole shift. It'll be announced everywhere. Yeah. Thanks, Dick, for asking the question. Okay, so good luck, Eric.
Yes, thank you.
Family, and so yeah, good.
I guess I had better set my intentions. It's about time.
Yeah, you could or just set your intentions for something simple at first, right? Simple, easy things, so you learn how it works. If you haven't been setting your intention so far, then you shouldn't. I have a friend in Israel, and so I started working on him a year ago, at least a year ago, 2 years ago probably, about waking dream. This guy is ex-military, lives in Israeli, lives in I don't know where, somewhere in Israel, and he's a very smart man, such a smart man, And so I said to him the other day, couple months ago. I said, "How are you doing on the pulse on the waking dreams?" She says, "Well, not very well." He says, "Oh no, waking dreams." Yeah, he says, not very good." He says, "I said, why is that?" And he says, "Well," I said, "what subject are you working on with it?" He says, "With the pole shift." I said, "You know what? You should just back off and just work on something simple, like just work on what you're going to have for dinner, or which route you should take home. Should you take that route or that route? And watch for a waking dream to pop up, right? And just work on the simple, easy stuff that's not so emotionally charged, right? So that's what I suggested. Yeah. So setting the intention is the same thing. Just go work into it easy. So Alicia is asking a question. So we'll do this, and then I'm going to call it a night. Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so I'm just going to share this. It's just a link that Alicia has sent me about a home that will withstand hurricanes and tornadoes. Okay, well, the thing about these, the technology exists today, right? They're working with concrete and really cool ways. They're even building, I think that, anyway, the problem with this type of construction is that, number one, it's not designed for a pole shift, flying rock, right? You should have a lower profile, and you should have a berms around it. And, it's just what it is. What this is like, this is, the rich man's corporate house, where he entertains his friends and his clients, and he's got money to burn, and we're gonna build this impenetrable house, but it won't be there once the rock starts to fly, right? These windows, so even if you were to use the same technology for a lower profile, a smarter pole shift survival type home, it would have to be super thick. Windows would have to be put in later. This is all, and the issue here is that the type of equipment required to assemble these homes and to spray the concrete won't be in existence after the pole shift. To build it beforehand, okay, but this design would never work, because it just stands up there proud as can be, and it's just going to be facing boulders flying at 190 miles an hour. It can't survive it. Okay, that's my answer there. Okay, well, thanks for everyone for dropping in, and we'll do this again. Thanks very much. So
Thanks very much.
okay, so this session was recorded. It might be part of a video. We'll see. That I'll put up on YouTube. We'll see. Okay.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.